Hi there, it's me, Katie Lynch for BroadwayWorld, here at the first opening night of 2019 at Manhattan Theater Club's production of Choir Boy, and we are going to chat with some of the cast and creative after their unbelievable Broadway opening night.
I hear rockin' in the land and ringing them bells. I know, oh my Lord, there's rockin' in the land and ringing them bells. Rockin' Jerusalem, in Jerusalem, ringing them bells.
MTC commissioned me, straight out of grad school actually, to write a play about growing up, or what I thought it was like growing up as a black queer man in an institution. What it feels like to try to be your talented and most genuine self, but also know that self is often questioned and checked. And so that was the journey to create the first draft of the play. And oddly enough, most of that is still what you see today on Broadway. Yeah, there's not been a lot of change in terms of the scenes, and I mean the same words are still in there. I mean, it's funny because some of the lines that are in the play that 5 years ago get the most laughs today, and we didn't change anything. We didn't update them. They were just there before.
What's it like to see strong black men fully represented on a Broadway stage, and the significance right now?
I think the most thrilling thing for me is to see vulnerable black men on the stage on Broadway, and that it's not necessarily a story about boys growing into, warriors, but young men, boys, finding some joy, finding some availability for each other, some vulnerability for each other, some space for each other.
Can you talk to me a little bit about working with this truly unbelievable creative team? Camille, Tripp, Terrell.
I mean, Tripp, amazing director, works beautifully. You can only ask so much out of a director, and he gives you everything. Terrell is brilliant. He knows all the answers and is not afraid to tell you when he doesn't know the answers. And Camille is Camille. I feel like you just have to be in a room with Camille to know what it's like. She's beautiful, she works beautifully, and it was amazing learning her movement.
This is a really powerful moment to see 9 young black men standing on a theater Broadway stage, and you look at the history of theater and you think of like minstrelsy and this idea of having to put on a mask and step into these stereotypes, and now you're standing on stage with the authenticity, carrying these spirituals. Understand this moment and be proud and be unapologetic. So that's a lot of the conversations that we had inside of the space. And I just have to say, I was nervous because I was like, oh no, I don't want to get on their nerves or anything. But I mean, they were just so open. And when I was watching them do the tech rehearsal, I thanked them because a lot of times the base of my storytelling is dance. And I have my company, and that's how we tell stories through movement. But when you have a musical, you have a play, you have the book, you have the song, and I just told them, out of all of you have so many things that you're balancing and navigating, and the fact that you still give as much care to the movement, I tremendously appreciate that from them, and I thank them.
AJ is an empath, which means that he's empathetic and he listens, and he's also shedding his own hypermasculinity throughout the show, and he's always just about trying to make Ferris as comfortable as possible, and just because he knows that Ferris is the only one that's been nice to me since I've been there. At least that's what I came up with. It's like Ferris is the one that helps me out all the time, and it's sort of my duty to protect his joy and his love for everything.
I was a sort of awkward, rabid fan of Terrell McCraney's, and I saw a play of his called Wig Out that was at the Vineyard several years ago 4 times, and I was just so astonished by it. And I wrote him a fan note saying, look, if you ever think that there's anything that you write that might be right for me to direct, I'm your guy. I literally worship the ground you walk on. So he was very kind and generous enough to take me up on that.
Bobby is a young teen at the Charles R. Drew Preparatory School for Boys, who has some pretty negative ideas about our lead, Ferris Jonathan Young, and he is not afraid to voice those ideas, those negative ideas, and I think a lot of his rage is misdirected toward Ferris. A lot of his bigotedness is thrown at him, but Bobby is dealing with some things on his own, and he doesn't feel as though he has a place to really express that. Every time he tries to show his sensitivity, his vulnerability, he's told to be a man. So when those kinds of things, when vulnerability and sensitivity get bottled up and pushed down, the result can often be bigoted, hateful people.
Can you tell us a bit about your representation of your character?
I don't know, it keeps changing. It keeps evolving. Yeah, it's like he's a complicated guy. In certain critical ways, he's a step or two behind the times, and yet he has this extraordinary history of commitment to all this. He's very serious about his teaching. Sometimes he gets confused or lost, and once or twice he makes a terrible mistake. But he's he loves teaching, and his life has been teaching and trying to interpret and understand this whole movement that's been going on since he was a very young man.
Junior is the youngest out of the crew, just this 15-year-old. I love playing Junior because it reminds me of when I was younger and we were all a bit more carefree. You know, the stakes were a little bit less. We just wanted to have a good time. We were laughing at fart jokes, you know what I mean? I think we could all afford to be a bit more pure and less jaded, and we decide what adulting looks like. But I think there's room to really harbor the kid in us, you know what I mean? To lean into that.
The play, I mean, it's a play, but there's so much music in it. I so want to call it a musical, but the music ends up being another character. The boys are a character, the school's the character, and the music speaks almost from the past into the present, and the way it's kind of evolved from the spirituals being traditional spirituals to now being more contemporary versions. You get to see the music kind of grow and evolve throughout the play also, just like the other characters.
Higher Jerusalem, ring them bells. Ringing them bells. You rocking in the land. Hey.